My ex's husband mocked me for being a junkie, not knowing I owned the rehab center that saved his brother. Walking into my 10-year reunion, I knew my old teammate Chris still hated me for costing him his football scholarship when I showed up high to the state championship. Everyone remembered me as the junkie who destroyed everything senior year. They didn't know I'd been clean 8 years and now owned 12 luxury rehab centers across the country. Chris spotted me the moment I walked in, and his face lit up with the same cruel smile I remembered from when we were teammates. He announced my arrival loud enough for half the room to hear, while wrapping his arm around Melody, my first love who'd stayed beautiful despite marrying him. When I approached to say hello, Chris stepped forward and shoved me backward just like in the locker room, my feet stumbling as he laughed and flexed his old quarterback muscles. Melody touched his arm trying to calm him, but he was already warming up for the night ahead, gathering our former teammates with waves and shouts. "Hide your wallets, everyone, the junkie's here," Chris called out once he'd assembled his audience, their nervous laughter encouraging him to escalate. Melody's face flushed red, but when Chris turned to high-five someone, she caught my eye and mouthed, "I'm so sorry," her hand briefly brushing mine as she passed. Chris noticed and yanked her back to his side, waving off her protests and turning back to me with fake concern, asking what I did for work these days. He cut me off before I could answer to announce I cleaned toilets at the gas station, unlike his brother who just made partner at his law firm. The laughter growing louder seemed to remind him of something, and his eyes lit up as he pulled out his phone. The video was shaky but clear enough to show me stumbling across the graduation stage 8 years ago, my eyes unfocused as I tried to grab my diploma and nearly fell. Chris provided commentary like a sports announcer while passing his phone around, making sure everyone got a good look at rock bottom. He explained loudly how this was why kids should stay away from substances, that some people just couldn't handle life without getting high. Melody tried to grab his phone, but he held it above her head, still playing the video on repeat until I finally escaped toward the bathroom, my face burning with memories I'd worked years to overcome. Chris's voice followed me across the ballroom, and I wasn't surprised when he pushed through the bathroom door with 2 former teammates, cornering me by the sinks. He grabbed my wrists and yanked my sleeves up while the others watched, examining my arms like a doctor while explaining to his audience that junkies were good at hiding their marks. One of them suggested checking between my toes, and they actually debated whether to remove my shoes before Chris finally let go, wiping his hands on his pants like I was contaminated. The disgust on his face seemed to give him a new idea, and he gestured for me to follow him back out, promising the best was yet to come. Melody stood near the bar looking miserable, and Chris's expression shifted to something crueler when he saw her. He pulled her against him, groping her in front of me while maintaining eye contact and explaining this was what real men got, not junkies' leftovers. Melody tried to squirm away, but he held her tighter, the crowd's discomfort fueling his performance as he announced loud enough for everyone to hear about the pregnancy scares. When Melody shook her head, tears forming, Chris told me himself, 2 times she thought she was pregnant with your kid. Thank God those babies were never born, right? Imagine having a junkie for a father. Melody broke free and ran toward the bathroom while Chris laughed at her sensitivity, then reached for a champagne glass from a passing waiter. By the time Melody returned with smeared makeup, Chris had positioned himself at the center of the room with his champagne raised. He called for everyone's attention, waiting until the room quieted and all eyes turned to us, mentioning his brother couldn't make it due to a big case in California, savoring the moment like a performer about to deliver his finale. I want to make a toast to the winners and losers in life. Some of us build empires, others beg for spare change outside them. He stared directly at me, while people uncomfortably raised their glasses. I make more money in a month selling to rehab centers than this guy will see in his lifetime. Funny how that works, right? The weak get addicted, the strong get rich fixing them. Chris was mid-toast when he told his assistant to call the rehab chain owner about next week's 12-location deal, still staring at me. My phone rang. I answered it in front of everyone. "This is the owner. Cancel all pharmaceutical contracts with Christopher's company. All 12 locations." Chris's champagne glass shattered on the floor as he stared at my phone, his face draining white while his assistant's confused voice came through his speaker. Chris dropped to his knees, grabbing at my legs while his boss called repeatedly, and classmates filmed his breakdown. "By the way, your brother was in my Malibu facility last month. You're welcome for saving his life." I walked out, leaving him sobbing on the champagne-soaked floor. Melody caught me in the parking lot, tears streaming, but I just wished her well and drove away. Chris was about to learn what rock bottom really felt like.